Hello guys, welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. Today we're doing Torchlight. This is an interesting game for a lot of reasons, and I know it's a little bit strange that maybe I'm even calling this an indie game because, you know, Runic Games kind of a big deal. This game sold over 1 million copies, but then again so is Minecraft. And it's generally considered to be a pretty mainstream game, but regardless, I think it's definitely worth looking at in case there's any of you out there who haven't played this yet. It's definitely in my top 10, possibly in my top 5 as far as indie games go. It is one of the best dungeon crawlers I've ever played, and I've actually finished this game multiple times. But because Anza was so kind as to pre-order the second one for me for my birthday, that also led to me getting a free copy of Torchlight 1 as a result, which is definitely something you guys should do as well. Pre-order Torchlight 2, you get Torchlight 1. And the cost of Torchlight 2 is the same as Torchlight 1, so you're actually getting a free game either way you look at it. But we're going to start a new character on this fresh version of the game, and as always, I'm going to be a barbarian or a destroyer class in this game, and we're going to make a kitty. What should I call myself? Well, let's call myself what I usually call myself. I'm gonna do a hard game this time. I usually start on medium, but, you know, I've played this a number of times, so I don't think I should have too much difficulty getting into hard mode.
I have always been a wanderer. I have roamed
The story of this is largely inconsequential. This is sort of a loot grind game, and if you've ever played Diablo, this is essentially the same deal. But there are some really nice streamlined elements to this game, and the most notable, in my opinion, is the fact that you can send your pet back to town with your excess loot.
Hello there.
So this guy's going to give you some quests, or a quest. I'm going to take it. Yeah. This is the main town that you are going to spend your entire game returning to. Unlike Diablo 2 and 3, you will return to the same town throughout. There's not multiple areas. Although I'm told that the sequel does have that. And this is your stash, where you can throw all your stuff. That's the shared stash, actually. That one shares between characters. I know a lot of people said they wish Diablo 2 had that. Well, Diablo 3 has that, but Torchlight had that long before Diablo 3 came out. And that's your main stash. So you actually have 2, which is lovely. The interface is fairly simple. I mean, nothing too complex if you've ever played a game like this before.
Stay out of the way.
We're just gonna sort of run right into this issue here and start smacking stuff.
Brink, over here! I can't hold them back much longer.
You alright, Sil? Rest.
Yeah, story stuff, whatever.
It's no wonder, Master.
I'm sure you guys aren't interested in that. I'm sure if you want to be interested in that, you'll probably go grab the game yourselves. Or you've probably played the game enough to know that what's going on doesn't really matter too much. This is a game about beating stuff up and taking its items and getting a progressively better character, finishing the game and starting over, or continuing to play the infinite dungeon. Oh, look, I've already unlocked an achievement. Graphics are very colorful, very pretty. I mean, it's a sort of a different style from what Diablo 3 had, which was also sort of colorful. But I think this one, I don't know, it feels more responsive to me in a weird way. Not that Diablo 3 was unresponsive, but this just feels like you're a little bit more present in what's going on. And it doesn't come across as gimmicky. It seems just sort of cohesive. There's quite a diverse cast of monsters to beat up, and quite a few bosses, and the progression of the main game, if I remember, it's something like 12 to 15 hours, depending on what mode you're playing on, but then you unlock an infinite dungeon, which you can just go back and keep going through forever. As well as there are like instanced areas within the dungeons that you can use a scroll to access to like get yourself up to proper level if you're having trouble. The frame rate is always silky smooth in this game. It's just the recording that sometimes lags a little bit. So if you notice that, don't worry, the game is not at all troublesome in that regard. And your kitty also helps fight, which is nice too. You can actually give him special fish that you catch throughout the game, and those help power him up in multiple ways. Give him special attributes. Actually, a lot of the fish turn him into other allies entirely, like non-kitty allies. And, oh, the game's nice enough, I think, to equip default items for me. Cool. You can effectively spam your health potions in this game, which I actually don't really have a problem with. I figure, like, if you have them, you might as well be able to use them. Having a cooldown on them just seems like it would be annoying. Plus, you know, if they're hitting you fast enough that you can't even heal in time, that's, like, kind of the definitive way to know that you're out of your league. But man, I've spent hours with this game. I can't even say like how many. It's probably over 150 or 200 hours playing this. It's so freaking addictive. I mean, I'm sure if you guys have ever played a loot grind type game like this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You just get this drive to get the best possible character. And especially since you can see the results on your character, like what your weapons look like, what your armor looks like. And there's so much to unlock. I mean, a lot of people consider Torchlight to be the spiritual sequel to Diablo 2, because as far as I know, Runic Games is comprised of a number of, or at least a couple of the former developers that worked for Blizzard on that title, so it sort of works naturally that way. And beyond Torchlight 2, which is supposed to come out like any week now, I'm not sure exactly when, but sometime in the summer of this year, 2012. Beyond that, there's actually supposed to be some sort of a Torchlight MMO, which I'd be very excited to see as well. Now in this video I'm not going to get into any of the complex stuff about this game, but you can make a lot out of this game if you choose to. The strategies, the character builds, all that kind of stuff, it's all in here. There's a lot to this thing. There's a lot of different ways you can progress as a character, you know, skill trees and that. And then when you combine that up with the different types of armor, you can imagine the strategies will branch out from there. So we're going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to identify that. Virulent Miner's Pick, 40 damage per second, and the one I have right now does not have that, so that's an easy decision. Got a slow polearm, nobody cares about that. And this is actually a socketed leather glove. Wow, hard mode gives you the stuff early, huh? Well, that's fine by me. I could probably use a second-handed weapon. Pole arms are two-handed, so yeah, I can't do that. And you can see I have a lovely glowy effect on my weapon, which is always cool. Probably should be paying more attention to the map, but yeah, the down area would be over here. And much like the first Diablo, the entirety of the game you just keep going down further and further and further and further. And surprisingly, you don't get mired up in that, like, it's all looking the same stuff. You actually end up in a whole bunch of very diverse areas, which is good on them for figuring that out. I also have some skill points that I've neglected to put in. Oh yeah, remember those skill points? Yeah, I appreciate skill points. As a berserker, warrior, whatever you want to call this guy, destroyer, the build usually starts out pretty similar, throw some damn points in strength. And I've got actually quite a few to start out here. I get 5 on that first level. After playing Diablo 3, it's like, wow, it's funny to see how much they let you actually tinker with your build. Where Diablo 3, they just took all of that ability away. Not sure. Should I play a dual-wielding character? I probably will. But I also have this slash attack, which I should probably work on. And there's 3 different skill trees. And they all have their different progressions, which is awesome. And this game also is fully moddable. And there are quite a few awesome mods out there already for it. Oh, I say already, this game's been out for like 4 years. Even ported to Xbox Live Arcade, which I also beat it on that. But one thing it sorely lacked was a co-op option. I know I've said in the past playing Diablo that co-op's not really my thing on these types of games, but, you know, it's nice to have the option for those that care. And that is exactly what Torchlight 2 aims to remedy, in addition to adding a whole bunch of extras and mixing up the formula a little, in hopefully all good ways. I haven't been super on top of like what the development of Torchlight 2's been on, but I'm sure good things are going to come of it. These guys know what they're doing. This game is very well put together and polished. And for $15, I mean, I don't think you could ask for much more. I've paid $15 for games that are terrible, and this is definitely not even in the same league as any of that. I'm sure if I went over to my 360 library, I could pull out 10 or 20, maybe 30 games that I've paid that much for that just are terrible, awful games. But we're not going to do that. But yeah, I look very much forward to getting to Torchlight 2. I'm probably going to play some with Anza. Maybe we'll make some videos of that if you guys are interested. After Diablo 3 was a bit of a letdown, and I finished it in just a few days, like, I don't know, it just didn't have much of any appeal to me to go back to. I mean, the whole thing just felt really consumer-driven and shallow. And the whole fact that they catered the entire gameplay around the paid marketplace, like, that just really kind of pissed me off, and I'm still not quite over that. So Torchlight 2 is not going to have any of those issues, and I should be able to play it offline like a pro, which you still can't do with Diablo 3, and you never will be able to do unless you crack it. So yeah, props to them punishing legit consumers and not punishing the people who pirate their game, which I did not do, just saying. I actually didn't buy it though, I did play only my wife's copy. So I got to play it all the way through without ever paying for it, which seems like the best way I could have gone about that situation. So yeah, sorry for all the Diablo hate for those of you who enjoyed it. I'm not gonna like dwell on that, it's fine. You're allowed to enjoy whatever games you want for whatever reasons you want. This is just my personal opinion, my take on the situation. I feel like if I paid for a game, I should be able to play it offline, or whatever circumstances I feel like. I mean, I know we've moved into an era now when buying a game doesn't mean you bought the game at all. It just means you've licensed a copy of the game for use for whatever terms the company decides to let you have that game under, which are usually almost nothing. Like, you hardly get any rights as a consumer when you buy a game now. I should probably be paying more attention to my MP, huh? I'm gonna, like, die here. Hopefully the clicking sound in the background is not too deafening. But if anything, I think this was just a very quick preview to give you a look at a game that you absolutely should have played and bought by now. But if you haven't, you still have a chance, and you still have a chance to get it at an absolutely outstanding deal. Save yourself $15 and get 2 games out of it. Those glowy guys are the special guys. They drop usually better stuff, if you were wondering why he's glowing like that. I don't really have any more health potions, so I'm going to retreat for the moment, and I think we're going to draw this video to a close. And I think I've said pretty much everything that needs to be said about Torchlight at a very basic rudimentary level. But I will again assert this is an extremely deep game, and there is a lot to be seen and done with this, so if you pick it up, you won't be disappointed. And I don't want to give you the impression that I'm, like, being paid off by Runic Games to sell you this. This is all completely my personal opinion. And I know quite a few people that will agree with me that this is a worthwhile purchase. But, you know, if you're not into buying it, I'm sure you can look up 150 Let's Plays of people playing Torchlight, since it is a completely procedurally generated and randomized game, much like Diablo, which is something I neglected to mention for this entire video, unfortunately. So hopefully you stuck around long enough to hear me say that. Every time you play this game, it is different. Every single time. But I think that'll about wrap it up. Make sure you head over to facebook.com/indieimpressions so you can keep up with what I post every single night, and I do post a video every single night. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding, and you guys are awesome, so it's totally worth it. Make sure you leave some comments, say hi, I love to talk to you, suggest any games you're interested in me playing, and I will get back to you ASAP. So thank you very much for watching another episode of Indie Impressions. I will be back with another one tomorrow, and I hope you have an outstanding evening.